Well, slain Brisbane mother Hannah Clarke and her 3 children have been remembered at a service at Parliament. Joining me now is Angela Lynch, who is the CEO of the Women's League service in Queensland. Angela, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Can I get your thoughts on that vigil that was held at Parliament House last night?
Well, it was actually very beautiful. It was a solemn occasion and it was an important, they were making really important message to have all members of Parliament there. It was, it's a moment in time. It was it perhaps is a galvanising moment for action, but obviously last night it was about remembering Hannah and her children.
Why do you think it is a galvanising moment for action rather than anything else?
Well, I think that the Australian community, the local community, the Brisbane community and the Queensland community were rocked by the horror of the deaths and the very public nature of those deaths. And we put so much work into stopping domestic violence, and yet everything that we've done, this is still the result. So it is really about doubling down and doing more.
Have you noticed, Angela, an increase in volume of calls that the Women's Legal Service in Queensland is taking?
Definitely, absolutely.
How much more?
Well, we just know that my workers on our statewide domestic violence helpline are saying they are overwhelmed. Women are calling. There are high anxiety levels in the community. Those anxiety levels are around just because of the nature of what has occurred, but it also can be a reasonable reaction as women in danger realise that they are in danger and are seeking help and assistance. And of course, we are being overwhelmed by calls and people coming into our service seeking help.
What sort of things are women saying? What are they reporting?
Well, they're reporting that that their perpetrator is saying you'll end up like him, or like Hannah. They are saying because perpetrators of violence use everything they can in relation to exerting power and control. So this on the media is another way that they can exert that power and control over their victim.
So how do you react to that? You know, such an uptick in that level of violence that your workers are also receiving. It must be very difficult for them to hear too, and not just the women who are obviously suffering.
Oh, absolutely. The issue of secondary trauma is a constant issue. As a CEO of the Women's Legal Service, it's as an organisational level, we have a responsibility to care for our workers. So we actually did bring a counsellor into our service to assist our service through this moment, because in fact geographically where we're located is only about 5 minutes away from where this occurred at Camp Hill. So it has rocked the community. Perhaps, in many ways like no other, even though 1 woman a week still is killed in Australia because of domestic violence.
Do you think that this Hannah Clarke story, as terrible as it is that giving some women encouragement or some level of confidence to come forward when previously they might not have?
I think only at the moment because of sheer fear they are. So I don't think that we should at this stage take level of comfort. I think what the community is requiring and is demanding actually is action by government at all levels, at a state and federal level, in relation to how they are going to respond to this issue and what they are going to do to make women and children safe in Australia from domestic violence.
Angela, can you tell me about the emergency legislation that you were there in Canberra to try and help pass at the moment?
Yeah, we're lobbying government, the federal government at the moment, in relation to family law. And if you know from media reports, Mr Baxter, the murderer, received a negotiated agreement of about 165 nights of contact. He wasn't satisfied with that and said he was going to go to the family court. And what we've said all the way along is that the current legislation incentivises violent perpetrators to go to court. And here we have, in a very explicit evidence of that, possibly occurring. Of course, the murder has intervened and that will never occur, but it's an example of what we have been saying all along. There is a presumption of contact in the Family Law Act rather than a presumption of safety.
All right, Angela Lynch, the CEO of the Women's Legal Service in Queensland, really appreciate your time at the moment, Angela, in what is a very difficult time for not just people who you work with, but for women around Australia and people who've only just come to realise this story. But Angela, thank you so much for your time again.
Thanks a lot. See you then.